Thank you, Lisa and Emma.
Oh,
It's
nice.
reassuring to have everyone working together like this.
Ahoy. Just kidding. Today, I'm going to do a super quick Unity VR demonstration of the Microsoft TinyTroupe agentic framework in a Unity scenario. Now, essentially what this means is that there are going to be LLM-powered agents running off of the local LLM machine that are actually conversing with one another about basically whatever I tell them to. And the whole purpose of this is to give a forward look at the future of NPCs in games and actually having intelligence and things of that sort. So these NPCs are actually capable of interacting deeply with one another. They have specific traits and personalities and things of that sort. And I do believe the future of gaming is going to be quite interesting in this. Because sure, we all want to walk around Grand Theft Auto and be able to actually start talking to NPCs ourselves. But on the back end of that, it will also be just as cool to be walking by and overhearing two NPCs having a really in-depth conversation that otherwise really would not have been possible prior to AI and some of these frameworks and things like that, and social capabilities of LLMs. So we'll get into it. All right, so the reason that I look like a weirdo right now in the VR headset is because the first demonstration of this is just a little Unity VR setting where essentially they're in an office and they're supposed to interact. So this one is accused of intellectual property theft, and she is tasked with...
We need to gather all evidence of your work history and any documents that can prove your innocence. Let's move fast on this.
So they're supposed to have talking animations when they talk, and then when they stop talking, they should stop.
Well, that's completely untrue. I've never stolen anything. We need to clear this up right away.
You tell her, Oscar. So it doesn't work great right now because the latency is really bad, and it is intellectual property. Uh-oh.
Let's focus on our plan and make sure we're both fully prepared.
So we can see they're in the meeting room here. And
I'm fully prepared to tackle this. Let's make sure our strategies are watertight.
So
we can't afford any missteps here.
They each have like personality traits and things like that. She's
Agreed.
telling him that...
Let's double check everything. I'll start reaching out to the first contacts today and let you know how it goes.
Say something.
Perfect.
Okay.
Keep me updated on everything. I'll start digging through my records as well.
But like the point of this is just that these are actually...
Will do.
Quote-unquote,
let's keep the lines of communication open and coordinate our efforts closely. We've got this.
So basically, that's just running on this machine behind me using Qwen2.5 32B. And it's super simple. It's only 2 agents. And the original prompt is just that Lisa is supposed to tell Oscar that he has been accused of IP theft. Now, the reason it sounded like they were actually continuing a conversation is because it actually sees the previous conversation history. So this is actually running a Flask server, like Python script on it right now, so that it can actually communicate with the VR app in the Quest headset through Unity. So it actually sees the previous conversation they've had, which has just been testing this specific prompt. So that's why it kind of starts out like almost like they were previously speaking. Now I added 2 more people, and I want to just show this through screen recording right now, just in case the VR is kind of funky for anyone to watch. Now, the initial prompt is that Oscar, who's right here, has been accused of stealing from Derek and Emma, who is right here. Now, this is kind of a freestyle thing, so...
Emma, it seems like Oscar has already been informed about the situation. Let's make sure we handle this with care and follow through on any possible appeal process.
Lisa, have you found out anything more about the accusations? I really need to know what evidence led to this decision.
So of course it takes a while, and you can actually see right here.
Understood, Lisa. I'll coordinate with HR to ensure we handle Oscar's case with the utmost care and transparency. We will also prepare all necessary documentation for any potential appeal process.
And then the IT guy just comes in randomly talking about the firewall.
Has anyone encountered any issues since we applied the firewall updates?
Right after I stopped that recording, Oscar said to Derek, he was like, can we please focus on these accusations? Because Derek was just asking him about the firewall, so he got mad. So I can't really touch this. It's got this link cable because it's transferring the new APK over from Unity, the one with 4 people. But I really want to see how that looks in VR. I think it'll be pretty funny if it works. Fingers crossed. I mean, it'll work, but the latency and stuff like that can get a little excessive. So we'll see. All right. Seems to have loaded.
All right. Everything's looking quite all right. Except for the synced animations, which is kind of weird.
Derek, we appreciate your continued support.
That's Derek.
As for Oscar's situation,
That's Oscar.
we are handling it with the utmost care and confidentiality. I'll make sure to communicate this information to him as...
Thanks,
Whoa.
Derek. I really appreciate your support. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Derek, you have my word that everything will be handled with care. I'll make sure the team is prepared and keep you informed of any developments.
Thank you, Lisa and Emma.
Oh,
It's
nice.
reassuring to have everyone working together like this. Oscar, we'll do our best to find out what happened and get everything sorted out. Thank you, Lisa and Emma.
Okay.
It's reassuring
Well,
to
okay,
have
so
everyone working together like
that's
this.
Cool, but really, the gist of this is that this is far beyond actually existing things that work in games. Now, it would be simple to just hook these all up to an LLM and give them each a prompt and have them just talk to each other like back and forth. What that loses in this scenario is the way that they actually respond to each other. They reach out to each other. They keep track of things that other ones have said and actually will specifically mention those in some of their subsequent responses and things like that. That is where the excitement on my end comes from things like this, is sort of the artificial intelligence. I know it's like an eye roll thing at this point, but the AI aspect of all of this, because they actually have something beyond what you would get were you just putting an LLM in here and having it like a single prompt to converse. And I've done that a lot, and the difference here is extreme. And they're still going. I mean, I want to like...
It must be difficult, but know that we're all here for you and working towards a resolution. Let's stay in close touch as things progress.
Look at them.
Absolutely, Derek.
They're
We'll
holding
ensure
hands.
everything is handled transparently and efficiently. Let's make sure Oscar understands the steps we're taking on his behalf.
Oh, man. Why are they...
Great to hear that, Lisa and Emma. Oscar, knowing we're all in this together definitely helps
marriage
lighten the burden a little. Let's make sure communication is clear and Great to hear that, Lisa
my goodness,
and
I
Emma.
get it.
Oscar, knowing we're all in this together definitely helps lighten the...
That was... I did not... I don't actually know why they moved like that. They don't have like mesh colliders on them, which is what would make them respond to like the character hitting them. So I don't actually know why they ended up sitting on each other and holding hands, but it did make for a funny thing. Now, real quick, I want to just do a brief technical overview of this in case anyone is interested, and I will put these scripts up on a GitHub, but it's not going to be anything really special, so there will be a lot of sort of having to just ask like an LLM how to integrate them or something like that if you're not very familiar with Unity. So essentially the first thing to show is how the actual networking portion of this is going. And this is simply a script that I'm running from within the TinyTroupe repository on the LLM machine I have, which I am remoted into. So this is my Mac right here. So this script is basically just a simple Flask server, and it initializes the agents. It has them have a prompt and things like that. And this is actually what gets sent to this from within Unity. So that's how you can like tell them what to start talking about, is through this prompt right here. And this is for having 4 agents in. So this is in some of the last examples I showed where there were 4 people instead of 2. And essentially, it's accessible on the IP address of the computer running it, and it is on port 8000. Now, real quick, I want to touch upon something. In Unity, if you want to actually have something using an unsecure networking setup, you will want to go into your player settings, and in not Splash Image, in other settings here, you scroll down and you want to allow downloads over HTTP, which will allow it to have an unsecure connection like this, and it'll give you a warning, things like that. Also, for Android development and things like that, just make sure you're using a custom main manifest that has the internet permissions and things like that. Now, quickly to kind of show how this works, we have our cmanager script, which has the URL for the remote server, and it is the stream conversation endpoint, which is the same one that is defined in this little Flask server that we have here, so we can get it working like that. And then following that, we have the initial prompt, which is kind of what will begin the conversation, which is tell Oscar he has been accused of stealing from Derek and Emma, which was this case. Conversation steps, so basically how long this will run, you can set that to whatever you want, but if it's your local LLM, you can do that because you don't have to worry about paying for it beyond electricity. And then we have our text-to-speech. So essentially for the text-to-speech, I just have the different game objects which contain the actual speech items. I'm not going to click on these individual ones because it will expose my API key, which I don't want to do. I am using Microsoft Azure text-to-speech, which allows for, a lot of voices. I'm not going to give like a advertisement on it. I'm not, but it is pretty good. So we have our conversation manager first, which we kind of saw. Here's the endpoint, the initial prompt, which gets filled in the actual Unity editor itself, and conversation steps, things like that. And this sort of just handles, so basically we get a lot of different types of messages from these, and we only want the conversation ones to be spoken. I could set it to be talk or whatever or anything like that, but for this purpose, to keep it simple, it was only for conversation, so I kept it there. So basically, we only speak messages from conversation, and then it goes into our character speech, which is kind of the voice synthesizer, text-to-speech synthesizer code. And this is the Microsoft Cognitive Speech Services. There is a Unity package for that, but you have to download it and then import it, and it's not really too difficult. It is pretty cool. So basically this just kind of runs the speech synthesizer, and there is some sort of animation logic in here. There are triggers for the animation so that they know when to transition from an idle sitting to a talking sitting. And then finally we have the speech manager, which just kind of connects the speech synthesizer and the voice with the specific one that we are going to be speaking about, I should say, the specific character. So you can see that I modified this to have all 4 of them in, but you can remove them as you see fit and things like that. So I will put these scripts up. Now, unfortunately, I am not going to upload the entire Unity project because these are assets that I've actually purchased off of like a CG Trader or the Unity Asset Store. So I can't upload them because that's just not, I'm not going to do that. So I will put the scripts up, and yeah, that's pretty much kind of just a super brief overview. And if I do just play this real quick, we will see that it will hit the server right now, and you can just ignore these. These are from the VR game template, and you can see it'll take a while, but so, and user is me. So really, hypothetically, it wouldn't be very well. I won't say that. It would be
Derek,
possible
I
to
understand you want to be kept in the
start
loop.
speaking with them.
However, it's important that we handle this situation delicately.
So yeah, that was just kind of a quick technical explanation of this. And so when I do put the scripts up, if you want to actually kind of build upon this, you will have some understanding of how they all work. That's really going to conclude the video. I think as a future thing, it would be fun to perhaps build upon this little office game of mine and just have it so you can actually start talking to people, and then maybe have a little bit of combat or something like that, though I don't know. I do tend to hyper focus whenever I get into Unity and do some VR stuff, so I'll see. But I just wanted to do a quick demonstration, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I had a lot of fun with that. So they're very entertaining. And quick side note, you might be wondering like, hey, why didn't you give them uncensored? I tried with Dolphin Mixtroll from Eric Hartford, but unfortunately Qwen2.5 32B is so far the only one that I've found that will actually return the responses in a correct format to avoid most errors that would come from using different LLMs. So, and Qwen2.5 I find is a bit censored, and I am restricted to what I can run on Ollama. And so yeah, but I could perhaps think about getting this working with TextGen Web UI or something like that. It wouldn't really be too much of a difficulty, I don't think. So, all right, this was a lot of fun.